On this week's Eastern Conference edition of Locked On NHL, it is still preseason. Fans are saying it, and I'm sure management too, as injuries continue to mount to key players across the league. We'll get into that and how it's affecting the Eastern Conference. Plus, it's time to look at FanDuel. Future season is here, and we'll give our best picks that you can get ahead on. That and more coming up on today's edition of the Locked On NHL podcast. Your team every day.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, your team every day. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we have local experts on the biggest stories, including my co-host, Mike DiStefano. You can find him at Locked On Maple Leafs. I'm Ross Levitan. I'm over at Locked On Ottawa Senators, a Battle of Ontario edition. As always, here, plenty to get to. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Today is Wednesday, October 2nd, and Mikey, 2 more injuries last night in preseason. The number continues to mount. What do you make of these key players going down?
I mean, it's crazy. It feels like this is happening way more than typical, is it not? Like, it's kind of weird how this year it seems to be that everyone's getting hurt. But you know, there was that big injury to Patrick Laine last week, and then Drew Doughty with a big injury. Panarin got injured. Celebrini, your boy Timmy Stu, got hurt. We could talk about that in a second also. There's a lot of injuries that are going on right now, and I don't really know what to make of it, because injuries are just kind of part of the game, but it is tough to stomach if you're a team and a fan base and you're relying on these players to help you through the year, and they're getting injured in meaningless games that ultimately they don't need to be playing. I get it. The preseason does have its function. Like, there are players who are at the bottom end of the roster who are, fighting for those final couple of spots, but Timmy Stu was not fighting for a spot. He didn't have to be in that game last night for Arbor Jack. I had to come and chicken wing him right into the chicklets. Like that didn't have to happen. So
did you think you had to punch Cedric Perret in the back of the head too?
He also didn't have to do that. And he got a whopping 0 games of suspension for both of those actions, which is mind-blowing to me.
You saw what happened after his penalty last night though, eh?
Brady going after him? After the penalty?
Yeah, Sen scored 3 goals. They go from down 2-0 to up 3-2, all when he was in the box.
Yeah, must have been nice.
And then this Jaden Struble guy. I mean, Habs fans already know about him. Our friends over at Locked On Canadiens were discussing how he is now maybe ahead of Arbor Jack Guy because he's not costing the team. And heck, he's making smart decisions out there as well. So that's the price you pay when you play on the line. If you go over it and it costs your team, all of a sudden you go from the hero that defends his teammates to the guy who's putting up L's for his team on the board.
I do wonder though, like, if there is anything that we can do about it. Like, I did see that apparently there was a discussion at the Board of Governors meeting in New York this week that they plan on addressing the length of the preseason and potentially could be shortening it. Now, there's a but at the expense of adding an extra game or 2 of the regular season. But like, is that something you think that would fix the issue? Like, the problem is it only takes 1 game, 1 shift, 1, divot in the ice, realistically, 1 bad placement of a knee to, injure somebody. So it's not like it's less games that would be the issue. I don't know. It's kind of hockey. Like, it may be a little bit of a contrarian take because I see everyone flying off the handle about it today. But at the end of the day, like, if you're playing hockey, it's somewhat the risk of this happening, whether there's 1, 2, 3, 6 preseason games. It could happen in any game. And let's not act like injuries also don't happen in the regular season as well.
Hockey's a contact game, and these are all the top-end elite athletes. They don't have a 50% switch. They're not going to go half speed. Every time they lace them up, they put the jersey on, they're just wired that they have to be going full out, especially, Mikey, the guys who are trying to make a team, make an impact. Like,
Those guys for sure, like the Arbor Jack guys who are on the cusp and they have to make they have to make a name for themselves, right? Like those guys, absolutely. A guy like Cedric Pare who doesn't want to get burned and look bad because he still is fighting for a contract. He's fighting to make himself look good. Doesn't want to get walked by Patrick Laine. And look, not excusing either of those players for what they did, but those players for sure are going 100%. But I was actually listening to Chris Pronger on Overdrive today, and he said something kind of interesting, and it somewhat goes against what you were saying. Some of these superstars, though, don't go 100% because it's just preseason, and they're just kind of skating around, just hoping to get through the game, as opposed to competing at their highest level. And sometimes that means they take their mind out of the game, and a situation, kind of like last night. Not that I'm saying this is what happened with Stützle, but you get a little lackadaisical and you just kind of float over the blue line, not realizing, oh, it's preseason. I'll probably be fine. No one's going to come and take my head off. Well, actually, there are guys who are still out there to take your head off. And he takes his eye off the prize a little bit, and boom, he ends up getting hurt. Again, it's not his fault. I'm not victim blaming by any stretch of the imagination, but that is sometimes the issue with these star players in preseason games, whereas usually you'll have your head on the swivel because you're expecting that. You're not necessarily in a preseason game, but sometimes it does come out of the blue like it did last night, and it results in injuries. It's tough. It really is kind of a chicken and egg situation.
I think I know how to solve it, at least a little bit. It doesn't make financial sense, and it doesn't make dollars, which means it's not going to happen. But it's these divisional teams that already hate each other and already have bad blood.
Yeah.
Last night wasn't the first time Arbor Jacki and the Sens got mixed up. But if you have the Senators playing the Nashville Predators in preseason, the Carolina Hurricanes in preseason, I don't think there's going to be the same level of shenanigans, and it's like a domino effect.
There's a message sending. It's
Tim
like, hey,
first shift, Tim Stützle ran Brendan Gallagher into the boards. You don't think that there's a history there 2 years ago? All of a sudden, it snowballs, and these guys, they have their little individual battles. I think that does play an impact.
Did Gallagher fall to the ground after he got ran?
Right. It was an unbelievable hit. It looked like Tom Wilson running someone through the end boards.
Was it a hit or did Gallagher dive? That's my question.
Oh yeah, well it depends who you ask. No, Timmy got him good for sure. Hilarious. But what's not funny is these injuries, because fans are paying to see the product in the regular season, preseason, and I feel bad for all the poolies out there, Mikey. Everyone who's already done their draft. Imagine having a high pick and having Patrick Laine. All of a sudden he's out multiple months, albeit not requiring surgery. There's some news, Locked On Canadiens, all over that. And that's great news. But David Reinbacher, not so lucky. He's going to be out 5 to 6 months and needing surgery. So it's just too bad. And I wonder what the solution is. I mean, I have mine that I mentioned. You can make it 4 games. Sens play 7. I don't know about the Leafs, but
6.
7 games, dude. Do we really need it?
No,
it's capped at 4.
It's egregious. I mean, I've seen it out there. There's so many people that believe, hey, this whole season really should be shortened and tightened up a little bit. And you could do that by taking away an extra, that extra week we have here, the preseason. And let's start the season on October 1st, right? Have your preseason be 10 days, fit your 3-4 games within a 10-day span, and then be ready to go by October 1st. And, the season then ends a week earlier. Hopefully you're done by the first week of June. You get 3 weeks in between before the draft. You can, go out there. You can, these players don't have to have that crazy turnaround from the, partying to the draft to the war room for free agency like we saw happen last year and the last couple of years. That's really what a lot of fans want to see. But in order to do that, it might cost, these already rich billionaires a couple extra $100,000, and they just don't seem to be willing to make that sacrifice.
Let us know in the comments if you have a solution to preseason NHL hockey, how you can make it safe, but also get these athletes prepared to hit the ground running when the puck drops on the regular season. A reminder that you can follow every team right here on Locked On Network. Just type in Locked On, insert your team's favorite name there, favorite team's name there. Locked On Leafs, Locked On Senators, all the great shows. And just a little shameless plug, Tim Stützle will be okay. Brady Tkachuk will be as well. They both left the game. As per Locked On Senators, we had General Manager and President of Hockey Operations Steve Staios on the program today. On the other side, we've got our FanDuel futures. We've got a lot of them, and Mikey is confident that he knows who's going to win the Stanley Cup. So that conversation is next. You're listening to Locked On NHL, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Need last-minute tickets? Want them at the lowest prices? Well, go check out Gametime. Gametime is the only ticketing app I use when I want to go to any live event, whether it's comedy, theater, sports. I know that I'm going to get the best deals at Gametime. If you put on the Gametime Picks notification, it is one of the toggle settings. You're going to be able to find all of the live events in your area. It filters out the fluff and gives you all the incredible deals. Gametime's got 50% off Labor Day offers for the Diamondbacks and Dodgers. So go check out all the great deals wherever you are at Gametime. Gametime is the official ticketing app of Locked On NHL. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On NHL, LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. Welcome back, Locked On NHL, your team every day. I'm Ross Levitan. You can find me over at Locked On Ottawa Senators. With me, as always, on Wednesday's Eastern Conference edition is Mike DiStefano from Locked On Maple Leafs. We have local experts on the biggest stories 5 days a week all across the National Hockey League. We're also brought to you by FanDuel, and with that, we love looking at futures. Mikey, what is the juiciest future that you've got your eyes set on?
The juiciest future that I've got my eyes set on. Well, I think it's going to be a really good, you look at the Memorial Cup, or the Calder Trophy. There we go. I was splitting all three together into one. The Calder Memorial Trophy. I think that this year, there's no, one player that really stands out above the most for me. I think that this is going to be a really cool year to kind of follow these rookies to see who can end up being the Rookie of the Year. Matvei Michkov is currently favored at plus 250. Behind him, Macklin Celebrini, Logan Stankoven, Gutter Cochier. We got Lane Hudson as another guy who potentially could get himself into the mix there. So I think that this is going to be a really good race for the Calder Trophy. But I got to go with the favorite on this one. I do like for Matvei Michkov to win the award. I think that he's going to be a really good player. I mean, he scored twice in his opening game, his first preseason game. He's looked really good in Philadelphia. He's going to be given a lot of opportunity as well. I don't think they're going to be a particularly good team, but I think that he will be able to produce. So that's someone who I'm looking at, in the Eastern Conference. Who's someone who, to me, should be the front runner to win that award? I think it'd be Matvei Michkov.
I'm excited to see what he can do because he's already got that experience overseas, but coming over with a team trying to take a step in the right direction. He's had a good preseason as well. I think I like Cutter Gauthier in here because I like I like having a little bit more of a long shot. And I also think that Mason McTavish is about to pop off this season. And that means whoever's riding shotgun with him could be Cutter Gauthier.
Are we adding Western Conference players into the mix here?
Right. We're only doing the East. Okay, well, there's a bonus one for you. How about that? I get too excited with the awards. I'm looking at absolutely everything.
I know.
If we're going just Eastern Conference, you know what?
It's just Michkov.
Just because he's...
No, you are not about to go Lane Hudson.
No. I just think that Rutger McGroarty is going to get a lot of opportunity in Pittsburgh.
Oh, your boy from the Peg.
I just like the odds on that too. Plus 2,400.
Yeah.
The 8th longest odds. And I actually, in particular, don't like a few names ahead of it. I don't think Will Smith, Dustin Wolf are even going to be in the mix. So just like that, you're going to get better value on Rutger McGroarty for an Eastern Conference guy. But it is slim pickings, and you can tell that with Matvei Michkov being plus 250 as the front runner for the Calder Trophy. Locked On Senators is a goalie-friendly show. Always has, always will. So let's take a look at the Vezina. And last year's Stanley Cup champion, Sergei Bobrovsky at 1,500 is one thing. By the way, the favorite, Connor Hellebuck, plus 550. But I like Andrei Vasilevsky here at plus 1,200.
The bounce back.
7th longest odds to win the Vezina. He's too good of a goalie. He should be top 3, top 4. I'm actually surprised Jeremy Swayman is still 3rd in the odds.
Yeah, considering he might not even play this year, and let alone, he'll be ready to go for the start. I think it's going to be a bit of a tough year for Swayman. I'd stay far, far away from Jeremy Swayman if I'm betting for Vezina. It's going to take him a couple of weeks to get up and running once he does report and finally get to camp and sign with the team. So I don't see him being in the running really for a Vezina trophy this year. Igor Shesterkin is a co-favorite right now for the Vezina. I mean, Igor, he had a tough start to last year, but man, did he ever end off strong. And look, we've been big fans of the New York Rangers. I think that they can win a bunch of games again this year. I think it's very possible. But what about a guy like Jacob Markstrom, who finds himself in the Eastern Conference now and on one of the best teams in the NHL? I like what they've done to improve that blue line in New Jersey. And look, I'm a guy who got to watch Sheldon Keefe coach a lot. He doesn't like his teams to spend a lot of time on the defensive end as is. So, with a lot of time spent in the offensive end, not a lot of pucks coming his way to get into the back of the net. I could see Markstrom, for a team that could end up potentially winning the East, a little precursor to something a little later on. I kind of like his odds. Was he 12-1 to win right now? 11-1 to win right now? Yeah. Kind of like Markstrom a bit.
How do you like Linus Ullmark at plus 1,500?
Not even remotely. Not even remotely. No. Get out of here.
Who do you think's more likely to win an award? I'll leave you with this then. Linus Ullmark for the Vezina or Travis Green for the Jack Adams? Travis
Green. I think Travis Green's far more likely because all they really have to do for him to be considered would be to make the playoffs. That's kind of what the award is all right, who did better than they were anticipating? And for Ottawa, although yes, I think most people expect for them to be competitive to try and make the playoffs. If they comfortably make the playoffs and they end up with 95 points, second wild card, maybe they pick up the 3rd spot in the Atlantic Division. I think that'll put them in the running.
Yeah, in the Atlantic, he's coach of the year.
I think that'll put him in the running for coach of the year.
You know who the favorite is?
My boy Sheldon.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Plus 700. Travis Green plus 800. Andrew Brunette plus 900. Everybody else in double digits. I mean, Craig Berube is an interesting one because I don't know if they can exceed expectations in the regular season and they vote on it before the playoffs. So
the only way I think Berube gets love for this trophy is if that team transforms themselves into being, very defensive. If he can get that team to buy in that way and they become just a shutdown unit, I could see him getting some love for that.
I know it's out west, but Andre Tourigny at plus 1,700 is pretty juicy. I think Utah's gonna have some juice this year. I don't know why.
I just said that last year, and
I know they're pesky. They're a great team to bet on for plus money.
Yeah,
they come through a half decent amount of time. So let's do the MVP, and then on the other side of the break, we'll do some team-based awards. But the Hart Trophy here, and by the way, something fun about FanDuel, you can actually parlay awards with things that happen with the team. For example, Connor McDavid to win the Hart parlayed with the Oilers to win the President's Trophies at plus 1,200.
That's
a
juicy. Spicy bet.
Yes.
I don't hate that at all. You could bet for them to win the Cup too. That's actually absurd that you could bet for them to win the President's Trophy at plus 1,200, but then to win the Cup, you're only getting plus 1,400. Feels like it should be longer, better odds than that. But that's a really cool kind of feature that FanDuel offers. I do appreciate that. So what are we going? We're going with the MVP. Who do we think is going to win the Hart Trophy?
Yep.
I mean,
I'll tell you the odds of top 3 plus 150 for Connor McDavid. So that shows you're adding quite a bit when you're adding to the parlay because plus 150 is he's almost even money to win the MVP. This guy's built different. Nathan McKinnon at plus 500, Austin Matthews at plus 850, Jack Hughes plus 1,100, and then Nikita Kucherov at plus 1,800 to round out the top 5.
So if we're sticking in the East, that's going to take McDavid and McKinnon out of things here.
Correct.
I'm going to go off, not off the board, but follow the logic here. Could it be Nikita Kucherov's turn to win the Hart? Like, he's been in the mix for a long time, and it's now kind of his team, right? Like, offensively, at least. With Steven Stamkos out of the picture, how much is he now going to be relied upon, especially on that power play, to score a lot more, to facilitate a lot more offense? Will he get the recognition for being one of the best pure offensive players in the NHL this year because of the loss of Steven Stamkos? And maybe that, it's a narrative-driven award sometimes. That could potentially be a decent little value play at 18-1.
I like that a lot. If you want to go for a long shot, how about plus 100-1 for Alex Barkov? For that much of a long shot?
Yeah, it's not terrible.
$5 to win 500?
It's not terrible. Sid the Kid, 150-1. That's not bad. He got pretty close last year. I think he finished top 5, if I'm not mistaken, on the Hart ballot. I do also like Jack Hughes. Like, I'm obviously, big on the Devils this year. So if Jack Hughes can stay healthy, I think him at 11-1, I think he'll be in the mix. Prior to his injury last year, he was leading the NHL in points and was the leading front runner for, multiple awards. So if he could stay healthy, I think he could have a monster season as well. I believe that Sheldon Keefe will be more keen on allowing him to do what makes him special more than Lindy Ruff did last year. So I kind of also like that one. Jack Hughes at 11-1.
All right. Let us know your best individual player props in the comments, because on the weekend, I will be making mine. And I'd like all the help that I can get. On the other side, we'll give our best bets for the team-based futures on FanDuel. That's coming up next. You're listening to Locked On NHL, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NHL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view their live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. We've given you a bunch of options, NHL futures today, to place that first bet. So log on to FanDuel, bet $5 and get yourself $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's FanDuel.com.
Welcome back, Locked On NHL, your team every day. I'm Ross Levitan from Locked On Ottawa Senators. That's Mike DiStefano from Locked On Toronto Maple Leafs, and we are going through our best bets for the team-based awards. And why not start with the Stanley Cup? The Edmonton Oilers are the overall favorite at plus 850. The Florida Panthers are at plus 1,000. The New Jersey Devils at plus 1,100. The Colorado Avalanche 1,100. And the Stars at 1,100. Those are your top 5. But in the Eastern Conference, what is looking good to you?
I guess we'll go with the New Jersey Devils. It's the year of the devil, my friend. The year of the devil. So I'm going to roll with it. I'm going to stick with it. I think Jack Hughes has a chance to get some hardware, potentially Markstrom, Sheldon Keefe. If all this comes to fruition, it means that it's a really good hockey team. And I've been big on them for the last 2 years. I looked good a couple of years ago, calling them to be that team to take that jump. And then last year, injuries, terrible goaltending, massive step back, new coach, new goalie. I think it all works for them this year. I think it all clicks. I really, really like the depth of that roster as well. So I think that the New Jersey Devils are right now the team to beat in the East.
This is one of the first times that I would not say the New York Rangers. I've been on them, it feels like, since the COVID bubble.
I know.
I'm not buying it anymore. I'm
falling
sorry.
out? You falling off the Rangers?
I think I am.
That means that they're going to win. Every time that happens, right? Like every time you're like, all right, I'm done with that team. That's usually when they finally pull through.
I really hope not. You know what? I might just sprinkle on them just so that I don't feel awful if it finally happens. But I think I like. Oh, no. They've
Jump
just
on the bandwagon. Come on, come with me. There's room
no.
for two.
I think my top 3 picks are all in the West. Like, I love Edmonton this year. I know they're the
Oh,
overall
but
favorites. It's not a
we're
sexy
not
pick at
playing
all,
that
but
game. We're not playing that
I know,
game.
I know.
I mean, yeah, like I'm guessing Edmonton, Colorado, Dallas, like those are your 3, 1, 2,
Yeah,
3.
they are.
Yeah, I would imagine. They probably would be for me as well if we're talking full league wide. I think, if I had to pick, I probably would roll with the favorites in Edmonton, and then after that go to Colorado, and then I'd probably go Jersey. Actually, I think Jersey and Dallas are pretty close. That's probably how I'd rank it: 1, 2, 3.
I love a
Edmonton,
good long shot,
Colorado,
though.
Devils.
I love a good long shot in the Stanley Cup run, because then even if they make the playoffs, all of a sudden you have this ticket where you're like,
Ooh,
wow, like
so
what?
you like Tampa at 17-1?
That's where I was looking. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, no one else really screams, "Hey, this club's gonna get it done." Like
no,
even Toronto, as much as I want to sit here and start planning the parade down Yonge Street, I don't know if this is the year they win the cup. So, but Tampa, you can never count them out, man. Like a resurgence from Vasilevsky, that could go a long way for that team.
I just want it on record that the FanDuel odds have the Senators with the 8th longest odds in the Eastern Conference, which would signal to me a playoff team, which makes me very happy.
Well, let's see. There are legitimate odds to make and miss the playoffs. Are they considered
Guess what?
favorites to make or miss?
There is an option for everybody except Ottawa,
How is that even possible?
right?
What? Why?
I don't know. It's
That's
so
hilarious.
up in the air. Isn't
They
that something?
they don't even have a points situation. Why is that? That's strange how the Ottawa Senators are the only team in the NHL to not have any of these futures.
That makes no sense. I was unaware of this. So
They must have
collusion.
no shot. They must have no shot to make
Oh,
it.
collusion. Not so. Who do you like? Who do you like here for a point totals? You want to give me one of those, or why don't we do? How about this? How about, because FanDuel's unique, and I think that it'd be good to let people know some of the team specials that are on FanDuel.
Mhm.
Will the same 8 teams that were in the playoffs last year in the East make
No,
the playoffs this year?
I'm
You
a
can't
no.
even bet on no.
No,
It's
I know. I'm not betting on that.
plus
Like,
15,000.
yeah, it's great. Like that's
Okay.
yeah, those great odds. Like maybe you put a buck on it so you can win, like $150. But like for me, I do not like. I think the Islanders and Washington for sure. I think, and probably the
Yeah.
Islanders also fall out of it. I just
Dude,
think there's a couple teams that are ready to make that jump and push
there's
themselves in. So
there's a bet that you can put that the Leafs win their first 5 home games.
first 5 home games. What's that schedule look like for the Maple Leafs?
Plus 900. I'd almost sprinkle just because it's funny. Leafs to win their first 3 games is plus 390.
So
Leafs
the
to
Leafs,
score 2+ in each of their first 10 games would be 350.
I like that actually. Because they got Montreal and then they got the Devils who
Ooh,
return.
you're Devils.
Yeah, but they're returning from Germany. So like that's probably their first game back from Germany, which by the way, NHL season starts Friday for those who weren't
Ooh.
aware. Like everyone keeps saying, "Oh yeah, starts next Tuesday." No, it starts this Friday with the Devils and the Sabres in Germany. It's a like 1 p.m. start, puck drop to begin the season. It's
Wow.
wild how stupid that is. They did the same thing last year. In 2 years, like they keep doing it this way, and I don't know why. And then when they market the beginning of the season, it's not until like the following Tuesday when it's a North American start. The fact that we're gonna have Devils Sabres play a regular season game, and then later on that night preseason hockey, and the next day preseason hockey is just so stupid. But anyways, the Leafs' first 5 home games, because you mentioned that specifically. So they start the first 2 on the road. Then they are home to Pittsburgh, the Kings, the Rangers, the Lightning, and then the Blues. So that's a tough home sked to start.
That is.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and not place that wager. No.
But you can go see for yourself what you like, what you dislike over at FanDuel. Mikey, what's final thoughts from you? I'm hoping to know what the deal is at Leafs camp right now.
Yeah, I mean, things looking pretty good in Leafs camp. I mean, they're relatively healthy, I suppose, which you can't say the same for a lot of teams around the NHL. The one, I guess, storyline that we're all kind of keeping an eye on is, William Nylander. Will he or won't he be a center come opening night? So that's been, big time talking point within Maple Leafs camp. And I guess also Max Pacioretty, is he going to end up signing a deal? What's the bottom end of the roster look like? Still a couple of things that are left unsettled, I suppose, when it comes to what the roster is going to look like come opening night. But outside of that, we're ready. We're ready for the regular season to start, brother. Totally ready for it.
Can't wait. We'll be here with you every step of the way. So make sure to go check out your favorite team's Locked On channel on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. That's Mike DiStefano from Locked On Maple Leafs. I'm Ross Levitan from Locked On Senators. This has been another edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, your team every day.